All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the next session. Mulesoft API Transformation Program powers SunTrust Open Banking for All. And we're very excited to bring this presentation to you today. We'll be talking a lot about, there's some clues here. We'll be talking a lot about Mulesoft this afternoon. We'll be talking about open banking and the kind of success that SunTrust and IBM have been able to achieve working together. Fun fact before we get started. This is a statistic from the recent State of Salesforce survey. This is an annual survey that's conducted by Blue Wolf, now IBM Blue Wolf, where we survey the Salesforce community and we ask them a lot of questions about trends in their IT environment, trends in their investment plans, and trends in their usage of Salesforce. And one of the really happy statistics we got back this year is that 67% of MuleSoft's users are satisfied with their IT team's effectiveness. So there's some kind of correlation here, something about MuleSoft and success. And MuleSoft themselves will tell you that their customers regularly beat their peers in the S&P 500. But that's a story for another day. So my name is Steve Ferris. I'm the Chief Platform Officer for Blue Wolf. I have a very limited role today, mainly just to introduce our main speaker, who I'd love to give the floor shortly. He is David Schank. He is the Senior Vice President and Enterprise API Strategy and Delivery Manager for SunTrust. So everything that SunTrust does having to do with integration, APIs, and related technologies falls under David. And it's David that our team has been partnering with very closely over the last year and a half, 2 years?
It's been longer than that. We've got almost a 10-year history together, yeah.
But on this particular program?
On this particular program, about three and a half years
3
or
years.
so, yeah.
Fantastic. Here's a quick look at our agenda. We're going to ask David to tell us a bit about about his employer, SunTrust. Also describe what we mean by the open banking strategy and their particular flavor of that. David's going to take us through his API journey and some of the key objectives that the bank is trying to realize as a result of that. He's also going to talk about how it's not just technology, it's about winning hearts and minds and the work he's done there. And then we'll hopefully have time at the end for questions as well. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to David.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve. I appreciate it. So thank you as well for sticking with us. I know it's 4 o'clock and it's the end of the day, and you've probably been to a myriad of sessions. So I'm hoping that we can keep this fun. We can keep this interactive. While I want to go through some details as it relates to our journey, I also want this to be as much about you and the questions that you have. So we'll save ample time at the end of this to be able to have the conversation as well. So just a little bit about SunTrust, some fun facts. We're a purpose-driven company. We have been for a long time. Our goal is to light the way for financial well-being for Americans in this country. We see through the On-Up movement a real opportunity to do that. We've got just over 5 million people all across the country, individuals and company-led, who have signed up to be able to learn more about financial independence and what it means to have financial confidence. So there's a number of tools on the On-Up website. We would encourage you to check those out and to ask questions and to learn more about what it means to bring financial confidence to your families and to your children. And then lastly, we're on the precipice of a very significant event with regard to a merger. I know you've probably all heard about that and have a lot of questions as well. Before I leave the slide, though, I do want to share with you some truly exciting news. We today received approval from the FDIC and the Federal Reserve Bank in Atlanta to be able to move forward on the next steps with the merger. So we have all of the regulatory approvals that we've been seeking for the days since we've announced this back in February. It's a truly momentous day, and we're looking forward to that. So that being said, we will close the deal in the fourth quarter, and going forward in a day early in December, we will be trading under a new stock symbol, and we're all looking forward to that as well. Okay, so let's talk about open banking. I wanted to, before we get into the details of the conversation, kind of set the guardrails in terms of what it is that we were trying to achieve. What I hope to do today is to share with you a little bit about our strategy, our story, and our vision as it relates to what we're going through today, kind of what we've been going through, and what the path forward looks like. When we did this about 3 years ago, we sat down and put together some key elements of what we thought were necessary in terms of forming the foundation of the open banking strategy. Obviously, open banking is about sharing data as an asset that we hold closely outside the bank, and we want to be able to share that with folks outside the bank. And we took a three-step approach in terms of doing so. We wanted to begin with the trusted trading partners that we already do business with today. We wanted to extend that outreach to fintechs to offer some of that same information as a data asset, and I'll talk a lot more about that later, with them so that they can provide different user experiences with that same data. And then lastly, we wanted to be able to take the approach that, hey, data is a commodity. And if we do this right, we should have a number of APIs that we bring to bear that are just like a utility. You plug your electrical appliance into the outlet, and the outlet itself doesn't care what it's providing the information or the utility for. You plug your blow dryer, your blender, your microwave all into the same electrical outlet. We should be able to do the same with APIs, and we want to be able to offer that context in terms of what we want to use those for. We want to make this a marketplace. What we've done inside SunTrust using the Salesforce and Mulesoft platforms is to create the App Exchange store for SunTrust. So we're using the exchange as a medium of being able to communicate these code snippets and these documents and these Swagger and RAML documents so that we can offer them through a self-service consumption model. It's important for us, it's important for my team to be able to, through some concepts that I'll talk about in a little bit as well, using the Center for Enablement, otherwise known as the C4E, to evangelize that. What we've seen historically is that our technology teams were really good at delivering technology value. We're really good at delivering technology value. But we're pretty terrible in terms of being able to communicate the benefits of that technology value. Do you guys, feel the same? Kind of get a show of hands as to whether or not that's something that we all share? It's what we've seen. And then lastly, we wanted to be able to talk about the monetization strategy. And we can kind of group things into three buckets. There's things that are publicly available today that we feel that we should give away. Stuff that's publicly available on the website, product information, branch locations, ATM locations, things like that. And then there's things that we feel like we should actually incent. We should pay you to bring traffic to our API network through the marketplace. If you're driving traffic that's opening up new checking accounts or new deposit accounts, we should incent you for that. Those are the types of APIs that we're also making available in an external marketplace to be able to have those conversations. And then as well, there's informations that pieces of information as data assets that we own that we should charge for because they're premium. They're allowing other aggregators to be able to serve their markets and their clients. I'm not saying that we would do it today or that we would do it tomorrow, but the aggregators like Mint, Yodlee, FX, these are all guys who are taking this data from across the myriad of financial services, and they're putting a value add on top of that and selling it. So those are opportunities going down the road where we may sell those types of data needs. So what does it mean? We've all heard the digital transformation buzzword. I wanted to share with you as well that this is absolutely not a tech play. If you go into this thinking that this is a technology play, you won't win. This is not a Microsoft .NET to Java transformation. This is all about engaging stakeholders across your businesses and your technology providers and security and operations teams in such a way that we can fundamentally transform the capabilities that we're bringing to bear. So think about that. What we've basically put in play is the idea that through APIs, through the marketplace, through this concept of an open banking platform, we're creating a new delivery channel, just like online banking, just like mobile banking or text banking. And we can then use that digital platform to be able to enrich the experiences, with our clients and, with the people that we deal with on a daily basis. So just taking a step backwards in time, in the 1990s and into the early 2000s, we spent lots of money enriching the branch network. We spent tons and tons of money, building out our servicing platforms in the branch. And over the course of, the last 10 years or so, we kind of put the customer in the center and started developing this concept of client-centric origination and things like that, where through the different mediums that we offer, we can put the client in the center. But the thing about that is we still have a very disconnected client experience. When a client goes to online banking, or when they go to the mortgage platform, or when they go to the private wealth platform, or when they go to the commercial lending platform, oftentimes it's a very different and very disparate client experience. So what we're thinking now is that, with this concept of banking as a service, we can bring to bear a different set of client experiences that are tailored to that client. So in that regard, we extend the middle section of this slide into a different world where we can then bring to bear a different set of client experiences that are tailored to that client. Only through APIs do we get the opportunity of doing that. So kind of building on what I was sharing there, the API economy, it's not just about monetizing that data that we talked about. It's truly about extending the outreach of these APIs using a different set of business capabilities and extending the business model, actually creating a new set of value propositions from those APIs is really what the journey is all about. Again, going back to the buzzword around digital transformation, we feel that, and industry has shown this, there's a lot of metrics and scientific data to show this, that the more touches you get, the greater the client experience is. If we can bring consistency to those touches, we can provide for a more cohesive and positive client experience as well. In today's world, a lot of the banking transactions are unilateral. They're transactions, right? So it's a singular dimension of that relationship. By building this digital platform, by creating these APIs, by turning these APIs into products and evangelizing what they bring, we offer a many-to-many relationship, and we then begin to move away from this singular one-dimensional aspect. And by virtue of that, we get a huge set of value propositions that we can then extend in a lot of different directions. So the key objectives there that we kind of fall back on are, we wanted to be able to increase revenue. We wanted to be able to use APIs, and we still do, to be able to grow our balance sheet. So there's a significant opportunity of working with the fintechs and innovation partners within the bank to be able to grow our revenue streams. We truly believe that we want to be able to, and we can, through this concept, increase the quality of what it is that we're delivering. So through the analytics and awareness capabilities, with the policy-based approach to APIs that give us new life over the previous technology platform of an SOA platform, we get these abilities. It offers a tremendous uptick in terms of how do we engage. Today, I can tell you that if someone wants to reuse one of my SOA web services, there's a cost of doing so. And because of the change management practices associated with those web services, there's a lot longer delivery time than what there would be otherwise if we were bringing to bear a self-service consumption model where someone would just go to the application store, like you go today to the Apple Store, to the Google Play Store, and you download an app. You don't think about the testing cycles that are associated with it. You use it with the expectation that it's going to work. The data assets as APIs, both internally and externally, should be the same. And to that point, we get a lot greater agility in the process that increases the speed to market. So when I talk to the business executives, our C-level executives, the 2 or 3 things that they always come back to me with are, we need to be able to have quicker times to market, and we don't want to depend on you for our success. We want to be able to do things in a self-service consumption model using your APIs, but we don't necessarily, want you to accompany us in an 18-month delivery cycle. Those are the things that they tell us, and this is kind of why we built it the way that we built it. So just driving that point home, again, this is all around the digital strategy, and it talks to the points that we just went through in some detail. We wanted to be able to build both internal and external APIs, and we will have different marketplaces in terms of how we use these and how we share the data assets, right? We wanted to build an API-based technology platform as a single platform that gives us a lot of flexibility in how we use it. And by virtue of that, we're then treating these APIs as first-class digital products, just like we would treat any product. So what that really means is that these products have product managers. And these product managers, it's their job then to build the ROIs, to build the marketing plans, and to build the communications plans around each of these. In going through the process over, several months, we came to a stark realization, though, that our internal integration APIs are all going to have internal integration product owners. And where we wanted to, it's just not practical to get a business person excited about taking ownership of an integration API. That was a lesson learned. It just worked out that way. But they're really excited about, taking new products to market that are going to generate new revenue and open up the balance sheet and extend it. Okay, so this is the road to, what building that external marketplace looks like. We felt it super important that everything is based on a foundational construct of the strategy. And the strategy itself is not just a strategy. The API strategy that we've adopted, we also tied it back to a capability maturity model. And the reason that we did that was because we wanted to build the right KPIs in order to be able to determine whether or not we were on the right path. And as we continue to move down the road, we're adjusting the KPIs in order to meet our needs and move forward. The idea, though, is that going from this strategy to a well-managed and manicured ecosystem of APIs, that we're going to have friction, and we wanted to be able to resolve that friction in a structured manner. So because of that, we built the C4E. Mulesoft talks a lot about the C4E. We spent a lot of time with Mulesoft kind of going through their ideas of what a C4E is, and we had a lot of things in common with what we wanted to achieve. But what I'll share is a little bit of a unique story in the sense that I felt it super important that before we ever build the first internal API, the integration API, that we have a common platform to govern the work that we're doing centrally and the work that we're going to do federated. And the reason that was important is because I truly see this as a means of being able to expand exponentially in terms of what reuse means. And I'll talk about that in just a moment as well. So the Center for Enablement is all about what it's an acronym for. It's a Center for Enablement. It's an adoption mechanism that allows us to be able to drive across the enterprise a common set of governing practices around what it means to manage the life cycle of an API, what it means to onboard a delivery team who's going to use the MuleSoft platform, and then what it means to be able to evangelize and to share both inside the technology team and across the business teams the ideas that are going to allow us to be able to move forward together. So I won't drain the bullet points on this slide, but I do want to share with you the importance of being able to build from the ground up a Center for Enablement. And I went for a long time with a team of one, And we're now about 5 or 6 people into it, and we're expanding this. And through the merger, this is going to be a common paradigm of what we're using to federate, because I do want to spend some time and kind of share that with you as well. On the left-hand side, you can see the center of the universe is the API service team. We take demand and input from our wholesale team, from our data team, from the digital team and consumer team as well. We ingest all of that demand, and through a very rigorous design time governance process, we produce extraordinarily high-quality products, right? And then, as we begin to say, okay, wholesale team, digital team, consumer team, we want you to develop integration APIs using the Mulesoft platform. And of course, they're licking their chops and saying, great, we get the keys to the kingdom. So what I'm thinking is I just gave, the developers sticks of dynamite to go blow themselves up with. We don't want to do that, right? We want to be able to control the forward momentum in such a way as to govern it in a well thought process. So what we're then doing is we're moving forward where using this model our influence is expanding, and we're using the concept of what we call delivery coaches, where I will take my senior architects and embed them in your delivery teams in order to help you go through the onboarding process. It helps them, get acclimated to it, and it gives us then the ability of being able to scale it, much quicker. So the C4E team then becomes the governance team. It's a technology team, and we're still doing centralized API development. But the idea here is that we're giving people a new lease on life across the bank who have previously felt that they were feeding us all of their requirements and we were building their integration services, and they were dependent on us wholly for the duration of the life cycle as it pertains to building these capabilities. So we wanted to be able to move the ball forward, and we wanted to be able to take a different approach, and we're using this concept of the C4E to help get us there. So what does that mean? What are the tools that you need to look for in terms of how you go about doing that? From a capabilities perspective, it's the C4E manages the platform. We have put together some pretty well-defined API standards from an architecture perspective. The KPIs in terms of monitoring, the product ownership, all of these things are what make up the C4E. And these are I wanted to share with you as well, some of the roles and skills that you need in order to start putting people in boxes so that you can start to build this out. These are all some of the things that you'll need to think about as you start to put organizations together to support the construct of a C4E. But I will definitely say that the C4E is something that you need to think about before you get deep into the integration services, and certainly something that you need to think about before you start turning internal integration services into open marketplace services that you're going to put out there for public consumption. So Steve talked about shifting the mindset. It's more of a cultural evolution. Again, this is not a technology play. This is about changing the paradigm of how we deliver business value to our business partners. And in that regard, we wanted to bring to bear a fully optimized continuous delivery process, a CI/CD process that accompanies the technology platform. The Mulesoft platform gives us a tremendous opportunity of being able to use APIs to build an autonomous CI/CD pipeline, and we've done that. It's 100% automated, so from the time code gets checked into our Git repository to the time that we deploy it to a Mulesoft environment, it's completely touchless, and we have a full set of unit testing and regression test capabilities built into it. So just real quickly, kind of hitting this slide, the mindset that we're changing is that from a top-down to a bottom-up. The SOA paradigm was really great. I was a champion of the SOA paradigm for a very long time, and it got us to where we are today. But it's simply not capable of being able to get us to where we need to go in terms of this digital transformation. We need to move away from assisted delivery to self-service. We need to move from a consumer-specific point of view to a provider-specific point of view. Again, bottoms up. In the case of our domains, the deposits and client information systems, or where the data is at. So, that should be where the services are built. So it's, bottoms up. We move into more of from a design time governance. We've always been really good at design time governance. And part of what we want to move is into the world of runtime governance in order to shorten those delivery cycles. So this is a key construct that we put together as we were building the whole mindset. Just real quickly, we wanted to move away from the perceived control of implementing everything, kind of reacting to orders as they come down the food service line, to that of the federated control model, where we're delegating and using the model to help enable others. We feel and we've seen, and I'll talk about a case study here, with a shout out to my IBM partners who helped to put this model together, that's leading to some faster times to market, where we're building reusable components that give us a lot more extensibility. All right, so a key concept of making all of this work is really that of building APIs that are designed from the bottom up, packaging them and marketing them so that they're just like any other product, and they have a product life cycle. They have product owners and they have product life cycles. Every product that's brought to market eventually has a sunset date, and we need to be mindful of that as we use that product on this digital platform. All right. And then, again, we're talking about the differences between internal and external APIs. Different marketplaces, different API gateways, different processes to bring them to bear, but they share a common platform. They share a common set of operating principles. And as we begin to put these APIs together, thinking of them as products, the roles of product owners and managers bring to bear a new set of responsibilities. So we wanted to share just a few of those with you here today as it relates to both internal and external APIs. So this is how we're doing it. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is sort of the sausage making, if you will. I wanted to share this construct with you because I think it's a revolutionary concept. I went to Bangalore, India about a year ago with my IBM partners, and I saw a model that they put in place where they were partnering with Apple for an Apple Garage development construct. Reach out to your IBM partners that you have and ask them about that, because I think it's pretty inspiring. So from that, we built this model where we've got 2 Scrum teams. We call them squads, but they work together but as separate Scrum teams serially. So we'll develop code, and then we'll put it into our customized squad team that basically performance tunes, enhances the code, and sends it back to the dev squad before it comes out of what you would build in terms of the single Scrum team traditionally that goes into your unit test process. A little bit more of what that looks like is this. So we go through that plan and define phase in number 1. Then we build, test, and deploy and send it back to number 1, because we're optimizing it before it ever goes through to our fully functional set of integration capabilities, where we've got yet a 3rd team that's doing that testing. So in this regard, we built a 100% automated pipeline that does our CI and CD work. And we're on the precipice of turning this into a really good DevOps model. And it looks just like this. It's an iterative model that's fashioned based on what we're doing. I'm going the wrong way. I wanted to go back. It's based on this model, right? So this iterative design, and test and build process is based on this model, where we've got these 2 squads that are working together before we ever deliver anything into this test phase. So this is, again, just another view of what the pipeline looks like and the controls that we've built in. We've worked very closely with our risk and our audit partners to build in the right sets of controls in order to make sure that it's a governed process that meets all the checks and balances of a heavily regulated industry. So this is more of a case study. This is, again, the work that we did in partnership with IBM Global Services. And I won't go through all of the details on this slide, but I'll call out some of the benefits in the middle here. We bolded them. And we wanted to show you that as we went through that 2-phase delivery process, we refactored and we simplified and we reduced the number of deployable units. In this case, 23% of our cast iron services were optimized, and a full 12% of our IIB services were optimized, meaning that 7 out of 30 cast iron services were optimized, down to 2. And 11 out of 95 IIB services were optimized down to 4. So in the current state delivery pipeline that we were using, we took 50 data power proxies, down to about 19, less than 20. So in the course of doing so, we got significant improvements both from our delivery process and our operations process. And this is what's driving the concept of the DevOps model that I shared with you as well. So I'm just under 10 minutes in the time remaining. I did want to leave some of this information in terms of where you can go for additional information, but I wanted to be able to make sure that, like I said, this is going to be an interactive session, and that I leave time for questions. So that being said, I'm happy to take any questions, Steve, in terms of from you or from the audience.
I wanted to ask the audience, how many of you have a full CI/CD pipeline that you're using to do your MuleSoft development? Just show of hands. Just a few. Yeah, just a few. So do you want to talk a little bit about the importance of that and how that drives productivity and efficiency?
2 points there that I'll drive home. One is, before we developed any services, before we developed any code, we put the governance process in place to support that. I thought that was really important. And the second point is, we absolutely wanted to move away from the constraints that we have today with 17 physical environments and move to less than 5. And those are logical environments. All of the deployments that we've done today, all the code that we got running in production today is on Cloud Hub. So we're using Cloud Hub as the means of using the CI/CD pipeline to deploy those to, but we're not deploying to physical, we're deploying to logical environments that we use to then map back to the 17 physical environments that the rest of our bank is still using. That's one thing. And then, as well, going forward, we fully understand and know that we're not going to have all of our workload running on the cloud, and we're in parallel working with MuleSoft on building out an on-prem version of what we've deployed to Cloud Hub, and it too will be fully representational by the CI/CD pipeline that I described earlier.
All right, fantastic. Any questions from the audience? Yes, gentleman in the back was first.
Can you talk about what you're using for monetization, since MuleSoft doesn't have that in the product? What's your strategy there? Basically, reward people for bringing you business through an API.
Did everyone hear that? Yes? Okay.
So I think the question was, what are we using for monitoring?
Yeah, monetization.
Monetization. So MuleSoft is not an accounting system, but yet it provides us a lot of detail around the metadata that's necessary for monetization. We today feel that there's the 3 buckets that I talked about earlier, things that we're going to put out there for free. So that's a type of monetization. We're not going to charge for those. And then there's the things that we want to pay people for. We would really love for you to develop a website that's going to push new deposit accounts openings to our bank, right? And we would pay you for that. In terms of the business side of how we bring those to terms to bear, there's obviously contractual relationships and things like that. On the SunTrust side, there's not anything out there in the open banking marketplace that is being consumed by external third parties. On the BB&T side, there is, and the terms and conditions are all on the BB&T website. So the BB&T team that built those in terms of the open marketplace, they direct the consumers of those, what are really point-to-point interfaces, back to the terms and conditions on their website. They were able to handle it that way. I don't know if that answers the question, but we can talk afterwards if not.
Here?
How many APIs do you have deployed today? Not at like the high levels, let's say the service layer, but actually just individual APIs that you have out there, and what were some of the most difficult ones that you had to go after?
Sure. Deployable units, we've got probably a couple of hundred, and callable units north of 500 on the SunTrust side. On the BB&T side, something around 3,000. They're more granular and more atomic, and they scale just differently.
Yes.
A couple of questions. One is functional on the business side, the other one is technical. On the functional
Okay.
side, as a trust, do you have any investment capabilities in alternative assets like real estate, gold, silver, those things? Do you provide any trust services like as a custodian?
Trust services, yeah. So there's actually so our trust line of business is very interested in this, and we don't have them running in production today, but we're working in the process of developing those so that they can use these services with their client applications who are very much demanding those. So we see that as not a nice to have, but a must have, and especially on the commercial banking and trust side. This is something that these commercial platforms are built around, and they're expecting banks like us to be able to provide these APIs. Is it a true commodity, though, or is it something that we're going to engage with them individually on and work through more of a peer-to-peer and trusted relationship environment? I think it'll probably move in that direction first before it becomes a commodity that you can register for and consume in a self-service model.
My second question is technical. Are you using both on-prem and cloud? Do you have that?
We are, yeah. We're using a hybrid model that gives us the ability of being able to build something without concern for where we're going to deploy it. For the most part, there's some services, especially in the digital world, around authentication that are more chatty, and we feel like those are the ones that are going to end up being on-prem. But to make a long story short, what we've done is put together a set of patterns and use cases to drive the decisions so that it's a model that's repeatable and that we don't create every time we have one of these type questions. It's a great question, great insight there.
More
Yes, sir.
questions? Yes.
Did you extend the federated model all the way to a full you build it to run it model, or part of that is still centralized?
Yeah, I mean that is the idea. That is the idea. As a bank, we're not fully agile. We've got pockets of people that are doing really good agile work, but we've still got a lot of waterfall teams that are out there. And in that context, we've got every technology that probably ever been invented. So we've got everything you can possibly imagine, and it's a very disparate landscape. So the idea, though, is that as we onboard these teams, that they get essentially certified in the use of this technology, and it's a pretty rigorous process to get onboarded. But by the time you come out of the process, you're fully self-sufficient. You build it, you run it. I think we're going to support the level 1 stuff from a platform perspective, but you as a federated team would support levels 2 and 3.
Question in the back of the room?
On the wholesale side, do you do anything extending out to your dealers?
Say that one more time.
Do you do anything on the wholesale side to extend out to, like, for any dealer, for example?
Yes, we've set up. So wholesale to me could mean something different than you, but basically our commercial lending platform is fully running on the Mulesoft platform today. We've got a big Salesforce instance that has got another third-party application that we got through the App Exchange called Encino, that we've consolidated all of our business practices across all 5 of our wholesale lines of business into one common origination set of business rules. All of that's running on Mulesoft today, and it interfaces with the back-end on-prem systems. If you'd like to learn a little bit more or go through details, I'm happy to do that afterwards as well.
Probably have time for one more question. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
You mentioned that you still have IB services. Is there a reason why Mulesoft hasn't completely replaced it?
So the plan right now is to migrate a number of different technology stacks to Mulesoft, both internal and external. We're working through the process right now on the SunTrust side. Actually, IBM's big shout out to them for the work that they're doing and helping to migrate that. I've got a team from IBM that's been with me for about 10 years who understands everything about these services, and we've migrated them through various technologies over the course of that 10 years. And they're heavily engaged in helping to move these to the Mulesoft platform today. It's hoped that we would have gotten all of those migrations done by the end of this year. However, because of the merger and the freezes that are associated with our our environments, we probably will extend that into the first quarter of next year. But the intent and hope is to put all of the integration services on the Mulesoft platform using more of a hybrid model with a greater presence on-prem than what we have today.
Okay, well, with that, thank you very much. We'll be around for the next few minutes to take questions here at the front until they kick us out. Then we'll be outside the door. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.